Welcome back to our channel. We are discussing chapter 10. I'm probably going to be interrupted some by this rambunctious Airedale Terrier in the background. He was just, he just went swimming, had his carrot, and now he's got to show us how happy he is. Anyway. So, what we are investigating in this chapter is whether the brain or the mind, these terms are being used interchangeably, can conceive of order without being organized around the idea of an ego or a self. I think I'm going to have to pause this video for a moment. Sometimes. So, sorry. So, what is being investigated in this chapter is the sense of order, you know. Is there a sense of order for the brain or for the mind, even when there's no, when it's not centered around the idea of an I or an ego or a self, for that matter? And they come to this question from different angles, as always. And we can start off with three questions that are posed by Krishnamurti in the very beginning, and that will at least partially be answered in this dialogue. So the first question is, can the brain ever be free from an illusion and forms of deception? Can it have its own order, an order not introduced by thought? Sorry, it's impossible. Hold on, let me show you. So, according to Airedale Terriers, there is no order. And the third question is, however much damage the brain is by shock and all kinds of situations, can the brain heal itself completely? So, we start with a description of the disorderly state in the brain. And I'm going to be reading excerpts pretty much for all the points that are made. So this is the first short excerpt. The brain, the mind, is so contradictory, so bruised, that it can't find order. Yes, but what kind of order does it want? It wants an order in which it will be safe, in which it won't be bruised, be shocked, or feel physical or psychological pain. So, if we were to put that in, I guess, Buddhist terms, then we could say, you know, humans generally seek happiness and they want to avoid pain and suffering. And the brain or the mind, which, as I said before, is used interchangeably here, seeks to not be hurt, not be bruised, you know. So next we investigate deeper what the source of disorder is. At the moment, the source of disorder clearly is an Airedale Terrier. Are you about done there? Jesus. Okay, so we'll try and investigate deeper what the source of disorder is. What is the source of what we call disorder? It's like a cancer going on inside the brain, moving in a way which is not compatible with the health of the brain. Yes. It grows as time goes on. It increases from one generation to another. Each generation repeats the same pattern. I'm saying an ordinary man can see, after talking over with another, that his whole existence is based on time, and the mind takes refuge in time, in the past. What does that mean exactly? How does it take refuge? Because the past cannot be changed. Yes, but people also think of the future. It is common to think that the future can change. The communists have said, give up the past, we're going to change the future. But we can't give up the past, even if we think we can. Then, if even those who try not to take refuge in the past can't give up, it seems that whatever we do, we are stuck. So, what they are saying here is that the brain is trapped in time, jumping back and forth from past to the future, and that it has the tendency to take refuge and also seek security in the past. Next, we explore what it means to let go of the past and to give up identification with it. So the next step is, why does the brain accept this way of living? My existence, my way of thinking, my life, everything is from the past. And if you say, wipe that out, what have I left? There is nothing. The ordinary human being wants something to which he can cling. There is no movement. Sometimes people dangle a carrot in front of me and foolishly I follow it. But I see that there are already no carrots. There are really no carrots, no rewards or punishments. Then how is this past to be dissolved? Because otherwise I'm still living in the field of time that is man-made. So what shall I do? Am I willing to face absolute emptiness? So they touch on the notion that, it's hard for individuals that are identified with their sense of meanness or I-ness to let go of the past, because it's sort of what constitutes the notion of ego in the first place, because it seems an accumulation of, past experiences and things you associate with the I, things that you experienced and things you can hope to experience in the future. So next we need to consider whether a damaged or scarred brain can face that sort of emptiness. And also we look at what constitutes damage or scarring. The mind says it is willing to do that, to face this absolute emptiness, because it has seen for itself that all the places where it has taken refuge are illusions. I think this leaves out something that you brought up earlier, the question of the damage of scars to the brain. Hatred, anger, and violence not only shock but wound the brain, right? And getting excessively excited. Of course, drugs, etc. So, by damage or scarring, they refer to both, positive, like very positive, but also, I mean, positive, what is perceived positive, you know, like a high on drugs, or but also negative emotional states that can sort of linger, you know, that can go on, such as hatred and, you know, rage and all that. And then once more, insight is being discussed, and how having insight can cure the brain. And they are also trying to describe the state of mind of someone having insight. There is no thought. What does that really mean? What it really means is thought is movement. Thought is time, right? In that emptiness, there is no time or thought. Yes, and perhaps no sense of the existence of an entity inside. Absolutely, of course. The existence of the entity is the bundle of memories of the past. So, what follows is an attempt to describe how we can conceive of such a state of emptiness, how we can define it, if we can prove it somehow. Even though it doesn't seem possible to verbalize this, it would be a state without desire. How can we know if this state is real, is genuine? That is what I'm asking. How do we know or realize that this is so? In other words, do you want proof of it? One's whole life has been this becoming, and in that state, there is no being at all. In other words, there is no me, right? Now you say, show it to me. It can't be shown only through certain qualities that it has, certain actions. What are the actions of a mind that is totally empty of being? Actions at what level? Actions in the physical world? So how can one convey in words that peculiar quality of mind? He can describe it, go around it, but he can't give the essence of it. Dr. Bohm, for example, could discuss with Einstein. They are on the same level, and he and I can discuss. If one has this sense of not being, of emptiness, the other can go very close, but can never enter that mind unless he has it. So, I mean, if you read any texts from, you know, realized human beings, from enlightened human beings, and you ask them what that state of mind is like, whenever they talk about it, it seems really, you know, paradoxical. It's almost, it's not describable, because it sort of eludes. It eludes our sense of being, you know, in this, it eludes our sense of being, or our regular sense of being in this I-ness and me-ness. So it can only be described, a lot of times it's being described in the negative, you know, what it is not. So it is what it is, you know. And it seems like a circular argument, but what Krishnamurti is saying is that you can only really, you know, you can only really have a sense of what it is when you experience it yourself, which is kind of frustrating for people, you know, but I mean, it's what it is. So letting go of the past and letting go of identification is described as a way to enable insight to happen in the first place, and that might be a hint, you know, for people who want to sort of get there without getting there. It's more of a movement of letting something go than it is to wanting to attain something. That emptying of the past, which is anger, jealousy, beliefs, dogmas, attachments, etc., must be done. If that is not emptied, if any part of that exists, it will inevitably lead to illusion. The brain or the mind must be totally free of all illusion. Illusion brought by desire, by hope, by wanting security and all that. Are you saying that when this is done, it opens the door to something broader, deeper? Yes. And I think I mentioned this in my last video. If we use the analogy of systems, oh, I think I did, yeah. We could say that running on or operating in the mode of I consciousness is one way of operating, you know, and it seems mutually exclusive to operating on what is alluded to being like all consciousness, you know, not a particular consciousness, but like the vast, all-encompassing consciousness. So when you run on I consciousness, it's impossible to run on it's impossible to run on universal consciousness. So the one mode of operation needs to stop before the other one can start to kick in. And instead of looking at the brain, we can look at the universe total. Could we say, first of all, that the universe is not actually governed by its past? You see, the universe creates certain forms which are relatively constant, so that people who look at it superficially only see that, and it seems then to be determined from the past. Yes, it is not governed by the past, it is creative, it is moving. And then this movement is order. Would you as a scientist accept such a thing? Well, as a matter of fact, I would. So, what is, I think, being alluded to here is that being in a state of I consciousness is a rather static or stuck sort of state, you know. It doesn't allow for a lot of evolving, it doesn't allow for a lot of movement, because it's kind of, it's a self-restricting kind of conscious state, you know. It always harks back to that idea of what the self is or what the I is and how you sort of define that for yourself. And what seems to be happening on a cosmic or universal scale is that things just happen, you know, and they don't feed on what happened before. So in a way, you could say, for example, the Big Bang is still going on, you know. It never ended, you know. So it's just one big movement that is, well, the Big Bang suggests that there was a start, but let's just say that there was no start, you know. It's an eternal sort of movement. So next we explore the question what the universe's relationship with time is. The question is whether we have a sense of experiencing past and future, or whether we are free of that sense. I'm asking you as a scientist, is the universe based on time? I would say no, but you see, the general way, that's all I want. You say no. And can the brain, which has evolved in time, well, has it evolved in time? Rather, it has become entangled in time, because the brain is part of the universe, which we say is not based on time. I agree. Thought has entangled the brain in time. This is a very interesting concept, and it goes back to the distinction that they made very early on, I think, in this book, between chronological time, you know, the time that it takes to move an object in time-space from point A to point B, and what they call psychological time. And psychological time is what we keep discussing, you know, is this sense of I-ness that is tied to past thought content or future anticipated thought content. So one could look at it, one could state that the brain is sort of entangled with time, you know, when it is in that state of I consciousness and me consciousness. And of course, I think what's meant here is psychological time. And finally, a sense of cosmic order is being discussed and how humans could re-enter that state of order. Can that entanglement be unraveled, freed, so that the universe is the mind, you follow? If the universe is not of time, can the mind which has been entangled in time unravel itself and so be the universe? You follow what I'm trying to say? Yes. That is order. That is order. And what you say, would you say that is meditation? That's it. I would call that meditation. Not in the ordinary dictionary sense of pondering and all that, but a state of meditation in which there is no element of the past. So here we make the connection between what we conceive of our individual minds and what they propose, which is a universal type of mind, you know, consciousness. And it seems to make sense that you can re-enter that kind of consciousness or have that, just live in that sort of universal consciousness once you let go of your sense of I-ness, which is tied to past thought content and to anticipated future thought content. So that's it for chapter 10, and we only have 3 more to go. I hope that what is happening with you when you watch these videos is that you gain something every time, you know. I think I mentioned before that to the maybe not so philosophically inclined mind, it could seem like we're doing a whole lot of meandering, but, you know, I was reminded of a book that I read when I was, I think, 13 or 14 years old. I think it was by Hermann Hesse, Siddhartha, and he has some metaphor where he says we tend to go in circles, you know, we feel that we go in circles. It's the same things that we encounter throughout our lives, but he says it's not a circle, but it's an upward spiral. And I love that image, because even though we feel that sometimes, you know, we're stuck in this loop and nothing seems to be happening, and it's like the same, sorry, excuse my language, the same shit keeps happening. So even it seems to be doing that, I think it's a nice idea to think that we are on this upward spiral. So even when we loop around once more, we have a delta that we achieved something, we gained consciousness, so, or we became more conscious. So I hope that's happening for you, and if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.